Hey everyone, so today we're going to break down lighting for visual effects. So in one of my most recent music videos, we lit this scene at my cabin set at my film ranch, the Eclectic West, and there was no fire here. All this fire is VFX, and if you follow me along social media, I kind of showed us on the day explaining how we were lighting it and that we plan to add fire in post. Now that the video is coming out and we have the VFX all done and everything, I wanted to do a walkthrough and basically just a walkthrough of how we did it, basically how we lit it, and kind of the theory behind lighting for VFX, because in order to get the best looking VFX possible, you need to on set light it a certain way that will help the VFX in post, or at least motivate what you're trying to do with visual effects. So in this case, we knew that this room was going to be on fire. So when it came to lighting the scene, and I'll let Tom break down the lighting here in a minute, we're going to, I'll let his VO play explaining the whole lighting setup, show you guys behind the scenes clips of that, but I'm talking about the theory behind it right now. So I knew in the song, he talks about my world is on fire. I just sit here as I watch it burn. So I knew I wanted to do this shot where everything in the cabin was on fire while he sat there on the couch. So in order to do that, we had to light it a certain way. And what we did is, we threw in some Asteras, we had some magic gadget things happening. Again, I'll let Tom explain that. But when it comes to VFX, if this scene was not lit the way it was, here's the before shot. You can see kind of the flicker coming from above. We got a little haze in the air. You can see the light dancing off of his face and the couch, on the curtains, over here on the floor and the wall. So we lit the scene to kind of emulate like it was on fire. You can even kind of see this edge over here on the edge of the couch and some flicker back here. This, and right here, the highlights on the bottom of the couch. This is motivating the visual effects and is gonna allow the visual effects artist to not only motivate from those different areas, but the light is now playing off of our environment. If none of these lights were here, it would look very, very, very fake if then in post, the VFX artist added fire to the curtains, fire to the table or the walls, because there would be no motivating light on any of the surfaces, our character, his eyes, and you'll even see it on some of the close-up shots with the picture frame as well as his face, the light dancing off of his skin tones and textures in the frame. So it's super important that if you are planning to do a VFX shot, we are planning to add fire in post, you have to light it a certain way. You don't just randomly just add it in post. You can, it's just not going to look very realistic, nor could it look as good as if you kind of just pre-light and pre-plan so that it can look good in post. And again, with this shot right here, so there is the raw, just kind of shot from the day of. There's with the color and the fire. And again, same thing with this. If I scroll on the raw clip, you can see the flicker of the light around the whole environment, dancing off the edge of the books, the table. That is emulating fire flicker, so that when the VFX artist adds the fire in post, we have the textures on the edge of the table and the frame, and you can see some flickers and you see the highlights in the edge of the book. None of that would be there if we did not light it physically on set. So that's the theory behind it all. Again, I knew going into it that I wanted this scene to have a bunch of fire and be on fire. So Tom did an amazing job lighting this scene so that the VFX artist could go in, add the fire, track the motion, and then once colored, you get a very pretty realistic fire effect and look. You can even really see it on his hands here and the edge of the couch, that detail from the fire flickers and the lights that we had going on. This isn't from the VFX. All these highlights and specular flickers that you see going on where it gets brighter and darker, that's not from VFX. That's from us actually lighting it on set. So without further ado, I'll let Tom get into how we lit the scene.
Hey, my name is Tom Taher, and I was the DP on this project. I'm going to give you guys a quick technical look at some of the lighting that was used to make this scene look like it was on fire. The first of 2 lights that was used was an Astera LED tube. And for those of you who have not used this light, an Astera LED is a fully battery-powered light that can be controlled from your iPhone. You download an app and you can change the brightness, the intensity. It even has a slew of different effects that can control and influence the way the light looks. So what we essentially did is we mounted these Astera tubes to beams in the house above the subject. And through some of the BTS, you actually might see some of them on the floor as if like the fire was from below, but ultimately these were just sort of rigged out of frame. And essentially, yeah, like I mentioned, you can control this light from an iPad or, your phone. And this, on the phone app, there are so many different effects from, fire flicker mode, paparazzi flash mode, party mode. So if you are thinking about using this similar light in your upcoming music video or project, just know that, yes, we're using this to create a fire-like effect, but there are so many combinations and versatility to this Astera light. But like I mentioned, we were lighting a scene that was supposed to feel like it was on fire. And if you've ever been near a fire is not a constant light source. As the fire is sort of burning, you're going to notice it's getting brighter or darker and maybe changing from different warm color temperatures. So the preset on the app has a fire flicker mode, and it basically programs the light to dance between different intensities, different warm color temperatures, and right off the jump, this got us pretty close. I maybe made a few different adjustments to the color temperature, but ultimately by just hitting fire flicker mode, these Astera lights were already doing a lot of the work. And the other light that I used for this scene, in some of this BTS, you'll notice I'm using a Source 4 LiCo. I'm actually using 3 of them. And a Source 4 LiCo comes from theater. It's a very, spotlight, sort of directional, warm tungsten light source. And I have a couple of them working. I have one of them mounted to that same beam, sort of coming down and lighting our main subject. So this was his key light, if you will. I have one skipping into an ultra bounce, so that's serving as our backlight. And then I have another one kind of wasted off into the corner, just doing like a ceiling bounce, just to kind of create and lift the ambient exposure in the room. But like I said, the fire is not a constant light source. So these 750 LiCos right out of the box, they are a constant light source. So to kind of give these older school, because these lights have been around for a while, that sort of new school, like fire flicker mode, I actually ran all 3 of these tungsten lights into a Magic Gadget. And a Magic Gadget, essentially, without getting too technical, think of dimming your light. If you've ever plugged in your lamp at your house to a dimmer, you can lower its intensity. Well, think of a Magic Gadget as a kind of a computer that's going to be dimming and flickering these lights inside this box. So it is a little limited. It pretty much is a flicker box, so it can't do anything too extreme, but it really served the purpose. Actually, on this Magic Gadget, there was a fire flicker preset, so I plugged all the Source 4 LiCos in, set it to that, and you'll notice in the BTS, these 750 Source 4 LiCos are kind of flickering and pulsing, very similar to the Astera lights. And there you have it. That's pretty much the lighting that went into this scene. We added some smoke, some haze, and that way when you see the VFX on the screen, the VFX feel like they are influencing the lighting. If we lit this with constant lighting, just lights that were at full intensity and no flickering or pulsing, the fire as it's burning would sort of feel unrealistic. So the fact that the scene, the set, and the subject were all flickering and pulsing with the lighting made the VFX feel like they belonged in the set. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Hope you enjoyed.
So hopefully this video helps you guys kind of understand that if you're planning VFX for a project, whether it's a music video, commercial, narrative, that you're going to want to motivate whatever effects it is that you're doing with lighting on set. It's extremely, extremely important to get the most realistic VFX as well as make the VFX artist's job easier and more fluent. You need to plan to light on set. Motivate your VFX. Motivate the VFX with lighting and real practical elements on the physical set. Also, big shout out to Jazz who did the VFX on this video. I want to thank him. He did a really, really good job, especially given the time frame and the budget. So appreciate him for coming through and killing that and doing a good job.